you can take one sensei, living or dead, aside from the obvious, aside from Miyagi Sensei. I think when it comes to
Right.
Wushu practitioners, it's always Miyagi Sensei. They can accompany for a year, and you can take instruction from them for a year. Who would you invite?
Only one? Can I take three?
Kia ora, I'm Tuari Dawson, and you're listening to the Invisible Sensei podcast.
You can take as many as you like. So I'm just really interested. So
it would have to be my Kobudo teachers, Tamayose Hidemi Sensei. He's a 10th Dan, one of Eisuke Akamini's senior students. He started his own association after Eisuke Akamini Sensei died. And I'm one of the founding members of that association. Just amazing man with amazing Karate and Kobudo skills, although he studies Shorin-ryu, so I don't really study karate from him, and we call him the quiet sensei. Doesn't say much. He's into basics and training, and never a bad word about anybody ever. For karate, it would have to be one of the three Yagis I trained with, because I started training with Dai Sensei Meitoko Yagi, and then with his number one son, Yagi Meitatsu Sensei, and his number one son, who runs the dojo now, is Akihito Sensei, Yagi Akihito Sensei, he's about 46 or 40, no, he's 47 now. Just amazing practitioner and ingenious and just such a nice person. They always say character is most important. So his character is so gentle, but in the dojo the training is so hard. So he's artistic. He was a member of a rock band, and he's done some very well-known movies, and he brings that artistic mind to the dojo. Always little thinking of things, changing. He's always got, they say the waters, you got to keep the heat on the water to keep it boiling, or the lake always needs a trickle coming in and leaving. He always got to change, and he brings that artistic mind. I think I call him a karate genius right now. He is bringing an aspect to the Yagi dojo that's really necessary, so it doesn't get stagnant. And I'd have to pick one other, and I'd have to ask Patrick McCarthy Hanshi to come with me because of his knowledge. And I would consider him arguably one of the leading Western authorities on martial arts. In my opinion, maybe the leading authority, but arguably one of. And so I would need three senseis to come with me.
when you first went and lived in Okinawa, Sensei, were there many other foreigners living full-time in Okinawa and studying?
Hardly any. And I considered at first, initially, I was what I call a transient. I would make trips back and forth. I was single, making good money, had freedom of employment. And I would just say to my employer, I'm going away for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. And they're like, "You're going to come back, are you?" And so I would spend a lot of time here as a single man back then. And the first time I came was 1993. And I would say at that point, there were just a handful of foreigners that were living here full time. And even visitors, it wasn't like it is today. It's karate tourism today, huge groups coming. There was very few foreigners here. Walking up Kokusai-dori, you would rarely see a foreigner other than maybe American military. And then the very odd karateka or kobudo-ka would be here. And those were the dedicated students, the ones seeking out, the roots or the essence or a better training method or just the beginning.
For you, Sensei, if you're coming to Okinawa and you want to you're wanting to get a sense of not just karate and kobudo, which are important things, definitely, but I would say I would characterize them as part of a sand on the beach, not the beach itself. What do you attempt to do with the people that you guide around Okinawa? What are you hoping that they get from Okinawa as a culture and as a country?
Good point. So the historical aspect and the Uchinanchu culture are very important to understand if you want to be a true student of karate or kobudo, because they're kind of meshed together and they're inseparable. And you mentioned the Peace Memorial Park. It's one of the 3 or 4 must-see places in Okinawa that I take people to, because if you want to understand karate, kobudo properly, you have to understand 2 things: Uchinanchu culture, and you have to understand what happened here during World War II, and how the Okinawans still continue on with that enthusiasm and that humility and the characteristics that their culture has after they basically got slaughtered, and they were trapped between 2 opposing forces, and trapped in the middle, and basically 1/3 of the civilian population was killed during the Battle of Okinawa. I did the math. The battle lasted 82 days or 83 days or 91, depending on when you started counting. But the land battle on Okinawa was 83 days, and roughly estimated maybe 220 to 240,000 people killed, including civilians, Imperial Army, American military. And I did the math, and it was 3,275 people a day for 82 days were killed on the island, which is huge numbers. And even in comparison to other major events of World War II, way higher civilian casualties and military casualties. So to understand that, and to see the enthusiasm and the kindness and the consideration that the Okinawans still have, shows a lot about the Uchinanchu culture and character. And you yourself, coming from an island and of a cultural care, you understand how important this is. And when the Japanese first invaded Okinawa and took over Okinawa from Ryukyu Kingdom, they were forbidden to speak their traditional language, Uchinanguchi, and they almost lost the language. And language is the connection to culture, and if you lose the language, so they managed to keep their language, which kept the culture. And there's a resurgence of interest in Uchinanguchi nowadays. And I have a few phrases, and I use it as much as I can. It just kind of breaks down barriers and opens doors. And as soon as they hear you talking a little Uchinanguchi, they're he's okay.
What is it that you bring from Canada into your karate, and what is it you bring from Okinawa back to Canada?
Geez. Well, Canadians, we're kind of unique. I like to think that we're quiet and we're not boisterous and we're polite, and but very proud country, proud to be Canadian. And our character, I'll use our American cousins to the south. The people are the same, the same European, mostly descent, and well, in America, lots of African descent, and but politically and militarily, we're much different. We're very liberal in Canada, and quite different in this regard. We don't care who your parents are, where you come from, what language you speak, what religion you are. All this is kind of irrelevant. As Canadian, we're quite a melting pot of cultures. And basically, if you treat me right, I treat you right. And that's all that counts the most. We're very proud, though, like with recent events, and we held ourselves very well during World War II, considered very, very good. So I think we're very strong, but quiet and humble and apologetic. So Richard Kim always said, to have a happy life, you need 3 things. You need the ability to be flexible, the ability to not take yourself too seriously and be able to laugh at yourself. He said, look in the mirror every morning and laugh at yourself, and don't take yourself too seriously. And the ability to admit when you're wrong.
Which is sadly lacking in our community, unfortunately, Sensei.
I think so. Lacking. So as Canadians, like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. I think we have a good ability in all three of these aspects?
To answering the question a little bit, I suppose that Icharaba Chode, the idea that we meet once,
We're family.
we're family. So, Sensei,
If I may, I think
please.
New Zealand has very strong character in these same points. Very similar countries, I think, in our attitude and the way we treat people. And
Well, I would hope so.
Mhm.
But I think you should do the definitive study on it. Since I think you should come down at least for 6 months. You can come. There's a room right here. I mean, you're welcome to stay. There's a dojo just across the yard. I mean, it's very important that you back up this with research and experience.
I think this has to be on the bucket list.
So in terms of, I'm not talking about glorifying killing, but in terms of what the core of karate is for you and how it's evolved over the years and Kobudo, how would you typify what is the real core of your training and your belief around the lethality of karate?
So defending, I think, is rather than defending yourself, your family, your country, your ideals is the core of the physical aspects. But I think the main aim for studying in the martial arts is the development of character. And again, Richard Kim, if I may, a quote from him, he said, when wealth is lost, nothing is lost. You can get your wealth again. You spend your money, you go make money. He said, when health is lost, something is lost. But he says eventually everybody loses their health. We're all die someday, and health is something, but it's something that we'll all lose at one point. But he said when character is lost, all is lost. So from that statement, I gather that character is the most important thing. And even after you're dead and gone, what people say and think of you is probably the most important thing. Or even more important, what they say and think of you during your life. All I want anyone to say is, Dan, he was okay. It's good enough.
I don't think you have to worry about that at all, Sensei. I don't have to worry about that. I'm kind of similar in the sense I would like on my headstone was a good guy. Okay, Sensei. So, in terms of what your training typifies right now, where you're at with your kobudo, with your karate, what weapon are you kind of? Do you sort of go through different seasonal? Like I know for me, I very much like the iku is always a real favorite. I'm a big fan of the way you use it.
Thank you.
Do you go through sort of seasonal kind of things where you're kind of moving around the kind of, I guess, the plethora of weapons and sort of go, I'm actually feeling the sai or the tonfa or the iku or the bo?
Definitely.
Mm.
I think this is just human nature. You concentrate on one thing and you bring it to a new level, and then you think, well, and this is how you kind of advance yourself or improve, and maybe something will get a little boring after a while, and you go, well, I'm going to focus on this, and I think this is natural human way of improving yourself.
The thing that I really enjoy about Kobudo and my tentative grasp on it is that it's a real beautiful adjunct to the karate training as well. And I was lucky in that I had a sensei young who had a pair of sai on the wall. I didn't know what I was doing, but I would go around to his house and sneak them off the wall and hit myself in the face with them and so on and so forth. And speaking of which, sensei, I think something I'd love to kind of touch on if we may. Fairly recently, for those, if you're listening, fairly recently, Sensei Antonsen was picked to be part of a demonstration for the Imperial House of Japan. Now, for those who don't understand or perhaps don't have an understanding of how big a deal that is, I know that Hanshi, Patrick McCarthy, James, myself, Josh, everyone, the whole sort of, I guess, foreign karate community in and around Okinawa, both in Okinawa and out, we're so excited at the prospect of that because we understand what a massive deal that is, irrespective of whether you're from Japan or Okinawa or from elsewhere, a huge, huge deal. You're one of the few people to have ever, accomplished that, Sensei, and I know because of the nature of your personality, that's not something you would have sought or perhaps even thought was a possibility. So if you can you walk us kind of through how that happened, what it was like, and
Sure.
what the aftermath was like?
So